Hey everybody, and welcome into a new episode of Billikens Beat here at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I'm Ben Frederickson, joined as always by Stu Durando, here to break down the latest in Billikens basketball. And this is going to be a stressful few days here for Billikens fans, Stu. I'm down here in Florida covering Cardinal spring training. I wanted to thank your wife, Elizabeth, for the awesome baseball themed mask that she sent with us. They're working out great, and we're very, very, very thankful. Meanwhile, everybody, including me down here, you back there, Billikens followers everywhere are wearing out the refresh button on their computers, trying to figure out what the latest is with the Billikens and the bubble. The Billikens are 14-6. They're 46th in the net rankings. The bubble projections kind of seem to have them on the outside looking in, but they're not all the same. Where do they stand right now as these conference tournaments in other leagues get off the ground?
Yeah, these last few weeks, especially right now, are, can make you crazy if you're one of those people like me who's, watching every game and, waking up and looking at the net rankings to see if they've moved up or down one spot and all these other crazy things that go into it. If you look at the most significant, most looked at bracketology that's out there, they're generally considered in the first four out. And that puts them close and keeps people with some hope as they watch each one of these conference games with other bubble teams. So yesterday, Syracuse was a bubble team and they won. And people, the bracketologists had them jump over SLU. Xavier then lost to Butler and Xavier slipped. Today, you've got three Mountain West teams that are all right there in the mix playing later on and a couple other games that could be significant. So, now's the time with SLU being done with the regular season. It appears that everyone's a fan of all these other teams that they normally wouldn't care about.
Yeah, Billikens fans are rooting for Mountain West teams to lose, rooting for Syracuse to lose, and they're happy that Xavier lost, which brings us to our next topic here. As folks have pointed out, it would make sense potentially for SLU and Xavier to try to schedule one final game before the selection committee has to finalize its picks. Now, the risk in doing that would be that if you lose that game, you're done. I mean, you're not going to get in then, but the winner of that game would say, hey, we tacked on a win against a bubble team late in the year. You have to consider that. And I think the selection committee probably would. We've seen pop-up games happen. Some of them have backfired on teams, specifically some Mountain West teams that scheduled some games, conference games that were not going to be made up. They scheduled them for late in the year. The favorite team lost, and now their bubble situation got hurt by that. However, this would help one of the two teams if that game were to be able to be pulled off. What are you hearing? What do you think the chances are of SLU maybe squeezing in a late surprise game against Xavier?
Well, I mean, they've made it pretty clear all along that they were interested in doing that if they got the right team. They want it to be a high-level, quote-unquote, high-level team. What fits that description? Who knows? Xavier, it would appear, would kind of fit right in there because they are in the similar situation as SLU, supposedly on the outside looking in, but very close. And then you have to weigh the risk reward, as Travis Ford told me yesterday, as to, is it worth risking a loss or just sitting pat and hoping that, maybe the committee in SLU's case takes a serious look at their long layoff and put some consideration into that and the two losses they had afterward, and that maybe they slip in and maybe they're getting more consideration than some would think. So right now it's all hypothetical. There's no word out of SLU that they are in discussions with Xavier, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were at least making that phone call. And Travis has said this week that they've called several teams that they've been trying to potentially line up in the event that they lose early in their tournaments. Xavier fits that situation.
SLU would be probably a very popular choice for the NIT tournament, which is going to happen this year if they're not able to get into the NCAA tournament. Of course, the Billikens, with seniors Jordan Goodwin, Hassan French, they want to play in the big dance, and that's what they're determined to get into, understandably. There's another element here that we should hit on, and it's the COVID situation, Stu. There's a risk, anytime you schedule a game, of maybe there being some sort of breach before the NCAA tournament starts, which is going to require teams to have 7 consecutive days of negative tests before they can report to Indianapolis. We already seen this playing out. Duke, a team that was kind of climbing in the discussions of a potential at large, they're now shut down. They're not going to be able to finish the ACC tournament because of COVID. So it looks like their season is most likely over. Are bubble teams that maybe find themselves on the outside looking in, is there going to be a holding pattern for late entries into the NCAA tournament? How would that affect the NIT situation? And what do you think the Billikens would do if they find themselves in that spot?
Yeah, with the Duke situation, that's one less team that SLU has to worry about, but it didn't happen the way you would want it to. That's just a bad situation for everyone involved. But yeah, the NIT they've stated is an option if they don't make the NCAA field. The other possibility is that those teams that are deemed the last 4 or the first 4 out by the selection committee will then become alternates for the NCAA tournament in order of how they were left out. So say SLU was the second team left out. If 2 teams had to drop out of the NCAA tournament in the 48 hours after the field was announced, then they would be an alternate to fit into the field. I think that only lasts for 48 hours or so after the tournament is announced that those alternates would be considered. But that's another way you could get in a very strange way in a very strange season. So right now, yeah, there's a lot of things that are still possible. I'm guessing that SLU has not played its last game. Where that will take place remains to be seen.
Yeah, and we'll have it covered at stltoday.com and in the pages of the Post-Dispatch. I'm hoping that the next time we talk, Stu, we'll be preparing Billikens fans for an NCAA tournament appearance. We'll see. Some things might have to break their way, but they're still in the mix as of right now as the conference tournaments across the country are in motion. We'll see where things shake out. We'll have it covered at stltoday.com. Stu, good stuff as always. Thank you to Elizabeth again for taking care of us down here at spring training, and we will talk to you next week. Don't sweat it too much, Billikens fans. Take a deep breath, keep refreshing that bubble watch, and hopefully some good news will be there before too long. For Stu, I'm Ben. We will talk to you guys next week. Take care, everybody.